and welcome to Cozy Love Whispers. Settle in, get comfortable, and let tonight's chapter unfold by the fire.
Chapter 3, A Taste of Cinnamon, Nikolai. Morning came as it always did, steam rising from the ovens, beans grinding, sunlight stretching across the cafe floor. On any other day, I would have felt at peace with the rhythm of it. Today, though, my chest felt tight, as though I'd forgotten something important and couldn't remember what. "Little Nick, you're moving slower than usual," Sarah teased, sliding a tray of muffins into the case. "Don't tell me you stayed up too late reading again." "I'm fine," I murmured, but my hands betrayed me, spilling too much milk into a cappuccino, then over-frothing the next one. "You're not fine." She smirked, brushing flour from her apron. "Daydreaming about someone, maybe?" My cheeks warmed. "No." She didn't press, but her grin told me she didn't believe me for a second. The rush began soon after, office betas grabbing their morning fuel, students yawning over textbooks, regulars who knew their orders by heart. I tried to ground myself in the familiar flow, but every smile, every greeting felt a little off, like I was a step behind the music. A tall beta ordered a latte with 7 shots of espresso. I blinked at him. "Are you sure you want to survive that?" He just grinned sheepishly. Exam week. I shook my head and made it anyway, sliding it across the counter with a soft, "Good luck." Not long after, a little girl tugged on her mother's sleeve, pointing at the pastry case. "Mama, can I have Nick's comfy?" Her mother corrected gently, "Comfort, dear," but I couldn't help laughing, the sound easing some of the tightness in my chest. "Comfy works too," I said, wrapping the pastry and handing it to her. The girl beamed, and her delight pulled a real smile from me at last. But when the bell over the door chimed, my smile faltered, my stomach tightening before I even turned my head. I told myself not to expect anything, that he maybe wouldn't come back.
The bell above the cafe door gave a soft chime as I stepped inside. The rush was in full swing, voices overlapping, chairs scraping, the hiss of the espresso machine echoing against polished glass. He didn't see me. He moved behind the counter with quick, careful hands, his apron smudged with flour, pale hair catching the light like spun silver. His soft voice floated through the noise, calling out orders, apologizing with shy smiles when he fumbled a cup. But even in the chaos, he was gentle. Even in the noise, he was calm. I slipped into a corner table, the kind where shadows collected, and sat with my back straight, my eyes never leaving him. No one noticed me. Not him, not the betas fumbling for change, or the omegas chatting over croissants. It was as if the world had shifted just slightly to give me this view, and I drank it in. So this was his life. Warm pastries, soft laughter, a world of cinnamon and sugar and steam. A small world, maybe, but it fit him. It suited the shy tilt of his smile, the way he leaned forward when children spoke to him, as if every word mattered. My heart ached. What kind of life could I give him? Would he laugh like that in my home? Would he fill my cold, silent rooms with warmth, the way he filled this cafe? Would he smile at me the way he smiled at strangers who left him coins and crumpled bills? I folded my hands on the table, forcing myself to stay still. Every instinct in me screamed to go to him, to brush his wrist, to breathe him in until his scent drowned me whole. But not yet. Not when he still looked at me with confusion instead of recognition. Not when he wasn't ready. For now, I would watch. I would wait, because patience was the only way I could prove I was worthy of him.
The rush finally thinned, the tide of customers spilling back into the streets until the cafe quieted again. Only a few tables remained occupied, the hum of voices dropping to a low murmur. I leaned against the counter, exhaling slowly, wiping a bead of sweat from my brow. My hands ached from working so fast, and my apron was dusted with sugar, but the relief of the lull felt like sinking into warm water. I glanced up to survey the room and froze. There he was, the alpha from the other day. Sitting alone at a table near the corner, posture straight, eyes steady, fixed only on me. My breath caught. For a second, I thought I was imagining it, that my restless thoughts had conjured him out of thin air. But no, he was real, solid, here. Our gazes locked across the space between us. He didn't look away. A small smile touched his lips, soft, deliberate. meant for me alone. Heat rushed to my face, sudden and overwhelming. My heart hammered against my ribs, and before I could stop myself, I smiled back, shy, trembling. For one suspended moment, the whole cafe seemed to fall silent again. No clatter of cups, no hum of voices, just him and me and the strange, undeniable warmth that bridged the distance between us. I looked down quickly, cheeks burning, my fingers tightening on the cloth I held, but the smile lingered, tugging at the corners of my mouth, refusing to fade.
My beauty gave me the most breathtaking smile. That smile lit up my whole world. He was a true beauty, an Omega so radiant I couldn't believe fate had chosen me to be his alpha. Behind the counter, he kept working, but every so often, his shy eyes stole a glance my way. Me? I couldn't look anywhere else. Being in the same room with my beautiful boy filled me with a completeness I had never known. The alpha in me, usually restless, was suddenly calm. My Omega was here, safe, happy, and I would make sure he stayed that way, always. Nothing and no one would keep me from him. It was time to speak to my Omega face to face. I rose slowly and stepped into line. My chest ached with anticipation, but my steps were steady. And then, finally, it was my turn. There he was. Up close, his blush deepened until it swept down the graceful curve of his neck, disappearing into the collar of his shirt. My breath stilled at the sight. His scent, sweet, warm cinnamon and honey, rose around me, threatening to unravel my control. But I held firm. My love deserved my patience, not my hunger. "Hello," I said, my voice even. "Can I please have a black coffee?" He smiled at me again, and the entire world blazed with light. "Yes," he answered softly, turning to prepare it. I watched every careful movement, my pulse steady and strong, like I'd finally found my rhythm. When he returned with my cup, I handed over the money, but I wasn't ready to let the moment end. "What is your name?" I asked. He hesitated, then lifted those luminous eyes to mine. "My name is Nikolai, but everyone calls me Nick." The name was music, a prayer, a promise. "It's so nice to meet you, Nick," I said, reaching out my hand. He placed his palm in mine, shy but steady. The instant our skin touched, fire surged through me, sharp and sweet, an energy I couldn't describe. I never wanted to let go. "Well, Nikolai," I said gently, savoring his name. "My name is Alpha Zan. I'll be sitting over there." I nodded toward my table. "When you get a break, will you come and join me?" He dipped his head, lips curving in a shy smile. "Yes, Alpha Zan." The sound of him saying it, Alpha Zan, sent shivers rushing through my body. I wanted to kiss those beautiful lips right then, to claim what was mine. But I restrained myself. He wasn't ready. I took my coffee and returned to my seat. Minutes stretched. The cafe slowly emptied, one customer at a time, until silence settled again. At last, a young Omega from the back came to cover the counter. And then, there he was. Nikolai untied his apron, folded it neatly, and began to walk toward me. Every step made my chest ache with wonder. My whole world was walking across the cafe floor. He didn't know it yet, but my beautiful boy was my entire world, and I would do anything, everything, to make him happy. With me, he would always be safe, always loved.
I walked slowly, my heart pounding louder with every step until I reached his table. Up close, he seemed even larger, broader, steadier than I remembered. Yet when he looked up at me, his eyes softened, and all I felt was warmth. "Sit with me?" he asked, his voice low, steady, carrying no command, only invitation. I nodded and slid into the chair across from him, my hands twisting nervously in my lap. For a moment, silence stretched between us, thick but not uncomfortable. My pulse fluttered like wings in my throat. "You have a beautiful smile," he said softly. Heat rushed to my cheeks. Thank you." His gaze held mine for a long moment, as though he was memorizing every inch of my face. Then his lips curved faintly. "When we're in front of others, you can call me Alpha Zan. But when it's just us..." He leaned in slightly, his voice gentler now. "Call me Hia." The word felt unfamiliar on my tongue, but my chest tightened with warmth. "Hia," I repeated, shy and hesitant. A sharp breath escaped him, and for the briefest second, his composure cracked. his eyes darkening as if the single word had reached straight into his soul. "Good boy," he murmured under his breath, barely audible, before clearing his throat. "How old are you, Nick?" 19. He shook his head slightly. 19, I'm 25. Just had a birthday 2 months ago. He leaned back, studying me, not with judgment, but with patience. "Tell me a little about yourself." I couldn't believe I was this close to an alpha. My parents would have a fit. Everything they taught me about keeping distance, about being careful, it all slipped away when I was near him. When he asked me to sit with him, something inside me had whispered, "Forever." I wanted to sit with him forever. I didn't understand where that thought had come from or why I felt so at ease in his presence, and now he wanted to know more about me. My parents always told me not to tell strangers anything, but this alpha, he didn't feel like a stranger. I knew he could sense what I was, a male Omega. Sitting this close, he must have caught my scent, but his scent was so strong, so delicious, so calming, wrapping around me like warmth on a winter night. Cinnamon, sweet and rich, tugging at every part of me. I hesitated, fingers brushing over the hem of my apron folded in my lap. There's not much to tell. I work here at the café. I bake sometimes. My family is very protective. I live with my parents still. My lips tugged into a small, embarrassed smile. My mom comes in almost every day just to order pastries. She says mine are better than anyone else's. His eyes softened, amused. "Do you make something special?" I nodded quickly. "I make a pastry called Nick's Comfort. It's very popular here. I love to bake and to cook all kinds of meals." I smiled before I could stop myself, the thought sneaking in uninvited. What if I cooked a meal for him? What if he sat at my table eating food I made just for him? My heart fluttered wildly. Delusion, surely. I shouldn't be thinking like that. And yet I couldn't stop. "Nick's Comfort," he repeated, his mouth curving. "That's the name of your pastry?" I ducked my head, cheeks warm. "Yes, it's mine." "Well," he said softly, his voice like velvet, "I would love to try it myself. I'm sure it's just as warm and lovely as you are." My face burned, and I dropped my gaze again, hiding behind a shy smile. I had never had this kind of interaction with anyone before. I didn't know what to make of it, but something inside me whispered that I didn't want it to end. Haya leaned back slightly, his dark eyes still fixed on me, but softer now. "You've told me a little about yourself," he said. "It's only fair I do the same." I looked up quickly, surprised. "You don't have to." "I want to," he interrupted gently. I pressed my lips together, unsure why my chest tightened at those words. "I'm a businessman," he said simply. "My life is busy. Meetings, schedules, numbers. It's not very interesting compared to baking something that makes people smile." I blinked, startled. "But you're important?" His mouth curved, almost wry. "People think so, but importance doesn't always feel like happiness." His gaze held mine, steady and certain. "Today, I feel happier sitting here with you than I have in years." My cheeks heated again, my fingers tightening in my lap. For a moment, silence stretched between us, comfortable this time. Then his expression shifted, thoughtful. "You mentioned cinnamon," he said softly. "Your pastry, Nick's Comfort." I nodded, my heart skipping. "When I was a child," Haya continued, his voice lowering, almost as if it was a secret, "my mother used to bake cinnamon pastries for me after school. Every day, without fail. The scent filled our home, warm, sweet, safe. It was the one thing that made me feel calm, like I belonged." My breath caught. Cinnamon was my comfort too. My mom always made me cookies when I was little. They still make me feel safe. Haya smiled faintly, and in that moment, my heart trembled. "Then fate was laughing when it made your scent cinnamon, wasn't it?" he murmured. "The thing that's always been my comfort. Now it belongs to you." The words curled deep inside me, leaving warmth I couldn't name. I ducked my head, but I couldn't hide the small, trembling smile tugging at my lips. "Well, I whispered. "It was nice talking to you, but I have to go back to work now. My break is over." He reached out his hand. Without thinking, I placed mine in his. His skin was warm, steady, grounding. It felt right in a way I didn't understand. He looked me directly in the eyes, his voice low and sure. "It's been wonderful talking to you, Nick." Then he did something that set me on absolute fire. He lifted my hand and pressed his lips to my skin. The moment his mouth brushed against me, it was like flames licked through my belly. My breath stuttered, my body trembling, my thoughts scattering like leaves in the wind. I didn't understand what I wanted, what I was feeling. All I knew was that nothing in my life had ever felt so good as that single kiss to my hand. I yanked my hand back, heart racing, and hurried to the counter, fumbling for my apron to cover the way I shook. By the time we closed at 7, I still couldn't believe what had happened. The whole day felt strange, like I had stepped into someone else's story. A movie, maybe. Something too unreal to belong to me, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. His lips, the heat pooling low in my belly, the way my body had responded without permission. What was wrong with me? I needed answers, and there was only one person I could go to, Melissa, my older brother's wife. She had always been kind to me, someone I could trust with anything. She would never judge me or run to my parents. After locking up, I stepped into the cool evening air. For a moment, I swore I could still smell cinnamon, faint, lingering, as if it clung to the night itself. Alphazan had stayed long after our talk, sipping his coffee in calm silence, and strangely, I had felt safer with him there. His presence had been a steady warmth, like a shield I didn't know I needed. The weather was beautiful, leaves swirling in gold and red, the crisp air sharp against my cheeks. Autumn had always been my favorite season. As I walked home, I thought I felt a presence behind me, strong and watchful. But when I turned, the street was empty. Shaking my head, I continued the short 10-minute walk, my boots crunching over fallen leaves. My mom always worried about me walking alone, but I told her I was fine, that I liked the exercise, that it helped clear my head after work. At the edge of our property, I paused. Instead of heading straight to the main house, I turned toward my brother's. My heart was too heavy, my thoughts too tangled. I needed to talk to Melissa. She would help me make sense of what was happening to me.
Thank you for listening to Cozy Fireplace Stories. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe so you won't miss what comes next. Let your body relax and let sleep find you gently, without effort, without worry. I'll be right here. I'll meet you by the fire in the next chapter.